Okay, so I figured it would be easier to just go ahead and make a video rather than drawing this out and really talking a lot. I'm just going to pretty much only talk when I feel like there's something important. I'm not going to show a lot of myself on the camera because I don't like how I look on camera. I'm just going to show real quick how I hoop a sweatshirt. I've got to do this sweatshirt for someone in a couple of days anyway, so I figured I'd go ahead and just get the stabilizer on it, get that over with, and make a video out of it. So I'll be hooping with the repositional hoop, the 5x12. I have a Brother PE 800, so I use these to make like my bigger designs like mama and so forth. This is one layer of heavy, I think it's 3-ounce cutaway, which is what I use on all of my shirts. I got a big piece like this. I want to say this is 12 inches across, I think is the width of it, how it comes on the roll. But anyway, I'm making it this big because this particular order is going to be mama, and then it's going to have it's going to be the mama and applique, and then have like kids' names underneath. So I need a pretty big area to work with. Anyway, I'm not going to talk a whole lot more. I'm just going to show how I do this, getting my material all hooped together, the stabilizer and the fabric. And I do have a ruler that I can use that will show me a center line. Having this is really helpful. I would highly recommend it, but you don't have to have one. I'm going to actually do this without using a ruler or anything because a lot of people ask questions about how to do it that way just by eyeballing it. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead. All I'm doing now is just turning my shirt completely inside out. Alright, like I said, I'm not going to be on camera too much, so you might not see me for a minute while I'm getting this. Okay. Alright, so now shirt is inside out. My design's going to be on the front here. Gonna get my basting spray, and I'm doing this off camera, but I'm spraying this over my trash can so it doesn't get on anything. I do spray my stabilizer. I do not spray my shirt because that can leave you with marks that are pretty hard to get off. So I've sprayed one side of my cutaway stabilizer. I'm just lining it up about where I think my design is going to be. Press it down. I'm taking pins, and this isn't something I've seen anybody else do. I mean, I'm sure they do. I just started doing this because I noticed once I turned my shirts back the right side out that my stabilizer was trying to peel off even with the adhesive. So I just pin it down, and I feel like it just gives me a little bit of extra support. Keep it from coming off or having any slippage. That's another big problem I see a lot of people having. And I pin really close to the edge. I don't, that way somehow my machine can't hit it. But one good thing too is when you flip this back right side out, these pins being on the edge give you an idea of how far out your, where your stabilizer is. I'm just gonna turn my shirt right side out again. Give me a second. I promise I'm going to make this as fast as I can. Alright, so now my shirt's right side out. Let me make some room for myself here. Now I've got my hoop. You can do it however you want to, but I always put my hoop with the connector side facing up towards the collar. That's just, that way when it goes on my machine, the bulk of all of my fabric, when I pull it around my hoop, is going to be more on the outside of my machine rather than closer to the neck. Again, I'm doing this without any guides right now. I'm going to show you how I do it just to give everybody an idea. I mean, I don't recommend this way. If you have rulers, use those. They make life a lot easier. I just like to show that you don't have to have one if you just don't have the money to spend on stuff like that right away. All right. So I can feel about where it is by touching on the outside here. You can see, you can feel that. Make sure everything's straight, flat. Okay, so right now, initially, I'm eyeballing it, trying to see where I think the center would be. Looks like it's probably about right here. So like I'm just gonna kind of play with it a little bit since I don't have a ruler. I'm just gonna start messing with it and see if I can get it centered. Okay, so I can look at it and tell there's more. I don't know if you can see this, but there's more, a little bit more room on this side than this side. So it's probably not center, but how I find the center is with my little measuring tape. I go from the outside seam, if you can see that, where the seam where the front of the shirt meets the arm, and I measure all the way to the side of the hoop. It's a little over 3 inches on this side, and it's 4.5 on this side, so it needs to come this way. So I pull that out. I'm just from the outside kind of pushing it over. Again, I'm trying not to make this take forever. I just want to do it the best way I feel like it would be able to show someone. Alright, pop it in. Let's measure again. So now it's right at 4 inches on this side. Again, I'm measuring from the where the hoop ends to the seam on the shirt. Alright, so now it's not quite 4. So now it needs to go back this way just a little bit more. I'm just barely bumping it right here. Just barely bumping it to get that hoop from the inside to slide. Let's measure again. Alright, it's right under 4. Right under 4. It's exactly at that line, if you can see that. It's exactly at that line there on both sides. I'm going to recheck it, make sure. Oh yeah, so that's perfect. So that is centered. This is now centered on either side. However, if you want to make sure it's not crooked, meaning one side of your design's higher than the other, what I do is I go from the shoulder seam up here where the shoulder meets the collar, and I just come down and I measure to the top of the hoop, which is about 7.5 inches. Okay, do the same thing on this side. It's 7 inches on this side, so this side needs to, let's see, let me make sure I got that right. I think that side needs to, yeah, so this side needs to come down a little bit. So we'll just pop that back out, just like that. All I'm doing is using pressure from the outside and kind of pushing it, and so it's sliding underneath there. Just slid it down a little bit, and only need to come down about 1/2 inch. Do it again. It's right at 7, a little bit over 7. So a little bit less than 7, so I came down a little bit too much. Just gonna do the same thing again. Just barely pushed on it, just barely. You don't have to move it much. Again, I'm only doing this because I'm pretending I don't have a ruler, so it's going to take longer. So now that's right at 7. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry, I'm not messing with the camera much. Let's see. Probably want that to go up a little bit. Now we're literally talking about like 1/4 inch, but I'm sorry, I'm a perfectionist. I can't do it. I can't stand it even being an 1/8 of an inch off, to be honest. And the whole time I'm not stretching my fabric. I'm letting it lay. So that means not altering it too much, literally putting the hoop on and just popping it in. And mine just popped in because I've got my screw pretty loose, so it's just going to pop in. easily. But you don't want to stretch your fabric a lot. It needs to be tight as a drum, but not like super tight. 7 on that side. 7 on this side. So my measurements are even from here to here as from here to here. So I know my hoop is straight. My measurements from here to here are the same as from here to here. So I know that it's centered. Okay? Now, I'm reaching up into the shirt, kind of gently, and you can see where my screw is here. Just gonna reach up in there and gently tighten it. You don't want to go moving it around a lot, because when it's loose, the hoop can pop out and then, you know, you're back where you started. I'm still tightening, and I tighten it until I almost can't move it anymore. Just tighten that hoop. Now once you tighten it, don't go pulling on your fabric to get it tight on the inside. It should be plenty tight enough doing it as you did. I'm just making sure now that my hoop is even all the way around, that it's actually evenly sitting in there. Still tightening it. And I doubt you're going to be able to see this, but you can see it's not too tight, but it's tight like a drum. And that's it. Like I said, you can see your pins here that mark where the stabilizer starts and ends. And that's pretty much it. And just for funsies, I'll see where the center would have lined up. And I don't know if you can see that, probably not. But lining up my ruler, my center mark is right on top of where the center mark on the hoop is. So it's centered by the ruler and by measurements. So it's good to go. I hope that it helps somebody. I really appreciate your patience. I know it was a little bit longer video than I wanted it to be, but I know how much I struggled initially with hooping. It took me a while to get it right, but a measuring tape, in my opinion, is the most accurate, and it's your best friend, so you don't have to spend the extra money on the rulers. Thanks.